Okay, so this is gonna be the new Slime Ranch 80% glitchless tutorial because the last one is no longer valid because version 1.0.1 came out and that changed how you get to the end of the game. Because apparently you were intended to open slime doors before you could reach the end of the game. So there's a new route now. So that whole thing is now pointless. Thanks, Slime Rancher. No, I'm kidding. It's fine. I'm alright with it. That's why I'm making this here. So this is gonna be like part 2 of my tutorial Let's Play series. Anyway, the route has changed, obviously, to meet the standards and criteria of the new ending of the game. Essentially, this is the same exact speedrun, but we have to open 5 slime doors along the way, which means that we're going to be bursting lots of gordos and growing lots of stuff at the ranch. So if you've seen the first run, a lot of things will seem familiar, but of course I'll explain everything as best I can still for people who haven't seen that tutorial. Anyway, I encourage you, when you start your runs now, to be checking the market whenever you feel is necessary. I check it right at the start, just so that I'm not wasting runs and time and stuff. You want to have your rad plorts be... I like to go for 50 or better. You don't have to. It's not a requirement, but that's what I like to do. You can also check your plort market prices after you come back from the pink gordo, which leads me into the next part of this tutorial thing. The first place that we're going to go to is the pink gordo. Along the way, we're going to collect 30 pogo fruit and carrots combined. After that, hopefully from the crates or from the bushes on the island that the pink gordo is located, you want to get a Q-berry. And on top of all that, you want to get a bunch of pink plorts so that you can afford the jetpack upgrade, or a gold plort if you're lucky, but for the sake of this, I'm not going to focus too much on edge cases. So we're going to go ahead and tackle that part. As a disclaimer, so far when running this route, because we're still kind of working out the nitty-gritty, right? The route was created by Lynx and then modified by me, but the modified version by me appears to be faster, but unfortunately much more heavy in the RNG department. So if that is something that you're disinterested in, I would, consider checking out the whole premise of the run before you dive in, because there is RNG, it exists. Anyway, we're gonna burst this gordo. And then we're gonna hopefully get a Q-berry from one of the crates that it has, or the crate that spawned to the left over here. And even if I do, I'm going to do a trick to show you how you can get a Q-berry from the bushes. Okay. And I did not get a Q-berry, which means I'm going to have to show you if I want to get anywhere in this run. Anyway, get all the pink plorts. I like to toss the leftover resources from like the tree and stuff to these guys so that you can get more pink plorts. So what I'm about to do is a slime jump. A slime jump is a maneuver wherein you bounce off of the head of a slime and back him up higher and jump off of his head to get a lot of vertical movement without having the jetpack. You're going to use it a lot throughout the run, so I highly encourage you to practice it because it can be tricky. It's more of a rhythmic muscle memory thing more than anything else, so just look at how I do it, look at how other people do it. If you're having trouble, you can always ask us in like the speedrunning Discord, which I'll put in the description. But anyway, I think the best way to explain it is to stop rambling and just do it. So that's what I'm going to do. Try and keep the area clean, because if things get in the way of you, it can be very challenging to actually pull it off, because they might bounce your slime around. Alright, well I didn't get a Q-berry here, but for the sake of me not going absolutely insane, I'm going to keep doing the tutorial, because if I keep resetting, I'm going to die. It's a pretty long run. But anyway, we're going to do another slime jump over here. You're going to want to keep one of your slimes, obviously, to pull it off. It's going to be right here. Do it towards the edge, not too close though. Otherwise, the pink slime will fall off. This is just a nice little detour to get back to the slime ranch faster. Anyway, we're going to sell the pink plorts, we're going to get the jetpack upgrade, and then we are going to go to the Indigo quarry. Now at the Indigo quarry, the point of the section there is basically get a bunch of rad plorts and some rock plorts as well if you can, because we want to buy both the tank booster and a garden upgrade at the very least, which is a total of 600. However, it is a great thing if you can pull off buying 2 gardens. So don't be afraid to get extra if you think you can pull that off. So we're going to come over here, we're going to perform a special little jump that sort of rides the cliff sides to reach the Indigo quarry. No slimes required. And again, normally on your runs, you want to have a cube berry by now. I'm taking a risk for the sake of doing this, but if you don't get a cube berry, that's a warning sign that your run might not be super successful. And I actually screwed up the jump here, but because you have a jetpack, you can just fly back up. I kind of didn't ride the cliffs very effectively, and I got punished for it. Anyway, grab a slime from here. There's no crate. I'm starting to get scared. Starting to look like no cube berries. Yep. There's usually crate spawns in here. There's like 2 spots right next to each other that can be pretty good for getting crates. That was not the best slime jump. I would not use that as an example. Anyway, you're going to want to drop down here, grab these Oko, because odd onions are worse if you get them. Feel bad, I guess. But it's not the end of the world. I like to feed the odd onions to the rock slimes and the Okas to the rad slimes because you want to get as many rad plorts as possible because they are the most valuable. You don't want to be feeding your Okas to other dudes. Now, you can't feed all of your Okas to rad slimes. You need one later in the run to be able to get enough plorts to burst the rad gordo. Very important. Don't turn into a tar. Okay, hopefully we get the rad slimes to spawn here. They didn't. Luck is not on my side today. As a result of this, I'll show you a backup strat. Here's a cube berry. My life is so much better now. Anyway, backup strat, if you don't get enough rad slimes, come over here. Rad ferals will always spawn. Usually like 1 to 3, and they will happily eat your Okas. And then fall off the cliff sometimes, because this is not exactly the easiest place to stand on. So, and that Oka doesn't matter, don't worry about it, as long as you have one to bring home, it is fine. Cool. Alright. So that's a backup for if you really want to complete runs, which I, recommend going for completion instead of going for high speed if you're new to the run, which most likely are if you're watching this. Anyway, I've got my Oka. I've got a bunch of rad plorts and rock plorts. A bunch more now. And I've got a cube berry because I'm lucky, basically. So now we're going to go home. We're going to sell the rad plorts and the rock plorts. Once again, the total you're looking for is 600. I almost actually got lucky enough to get the second garden upgrade. Not an upgrade, it's just the garden. If you need, like, just a little bit of money, I recommend doing what I'm doing here and kind of running around and getting pink plorts. But I'm also getting the pink slimes out of the way because the pink slimes can, like, eat fruit while you're trying to grow it. And that's a big not good thing, big no-no. So I'm just going to get rid of them so that I don't have to deal with that. Anyway, it's fine. I'd rather show off the single garden strategy than the double garden, because the double garden one is pretty easy. You just grow Okas in the first garden, cube berries in the second garden. Once you have enough Okas, replace it with pogo fruit, and then you don't have to worry about the gardens for the rest of the run. There's no messing around with it. But with the singular garden strategy, there's a little bit more to it. So you want to grow Okas first. That's like absolutely required. If you don't do that, your life is going to be a sad time. But anyway, put the Okas in. You're going to want to sleep twice, reading your star mail. This should seem familiar to those who have done the old route. Then once you've slept twice, come on out here. But yeah, the reason you don't want to have pink slimes over here is they can eat like 5 of these each time you sleep. Not each time you sleep. They can eat 5 after like 2 sleep cycles. So if you have a pink slime there, it's just going to chomp down on how much you have, and then you might not get enough, and it'll be a very sad time. Also, just to really stress the point, you need to remember to get those pogo fruit. If you don't, you'll sleep through the day, and then the pogo fruit will despawn. It'll be really sad. I've done it all the time. But anyway, we've gotten our Oka. It doesn't matter the order of the next one. I like to do pogo fruit. And if you're lucky, you won't need to sleep more than twice to get all of your pogo fruit. just keep sleeping and reading your star mail. And come on out here. Grab all the pogo fruit. Looks like I am fine and got all 30. And then lastly, we're going to remove these crops and start growing the Q-berries. Oh, actually. Yeah, no, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Just thinking. There's a lot more to think about with this rat, so I might be a little bit more here and there as far as the tutorial is concerned, so I hope I'm not super confusing with everything I'm doing. Trying to make it as clear as possible. I might not do the best job in the world, but I am doing what I can. So, it was not the best Q-berry haul in the world. Hopefully I won't have to sleep an extra day. Because I actually want to get 31 Q-berries. Or do I? No, wait. I want to put a pogo fruit back. What am I talking about? I don't even know my own route. So I like to put the pogo fruit right here. You definitely want to do that for later because you will need both pogo fruit and Q-berries in the future. So put this pogo fruit here so that you can get Q-berries and then have the pogo fruit for later when you want to replace the garden. So now we're going to do the Indigo quarry jump again. Hopefully this time I don't screw it up. That'd be embarrassing to have done it 0 times successfully. It's really not that hard. I just kind of made a dumb mistake. But anyway, if you can't tell yet, this haul of veggies and fruits are going to be used to burst. Well, we're going to burst 2 gordos right now, but we're going to burst a total of 5 gordos rather throughout the run, including the pink one. Right now, we're heading towards the rad gordo. After that, we'll go to the honey one. After that, we'll take a trip to the phosphor, and then return, go back to the phosphor, and then eventually we'll get the quantum gordo. It's just a whole mess of gordos. So when you do have one garden strat, oops, my voice. When you do have one garden strat, you're going to be down 1 fruit. And one of the biggest parts of the run is managing total fruit, like overall. And that involves getting crates a lot. So in this case, I have a crate right here. I really want to get a pogo fruit from it because if I can get a pogo fruit, it bumps me up 1 fruit in total. And I got a Q-berry, which makes me sad on my decision making earlier. But hindsight is 20/20, of course. So generally when you find crates along the way, you're going to want to just open them, but I will show you later. In fact, I'll show you right about now when it is sometimes better to actually carry crates with you because of how your inventory works. So we're going to burst this rad gordo. I'm going to shoot 29 okas. You want to hold 1 off to get a rock plort near the ancient ruins entrance. So I shoot all those at him. I let the rad slimes disperse a little bit because all those rad auras can seriously hurt you if you are not being careful. So I get the rad plort, get the slime key. Right now, I want to open this crate because I want to get a pogo fruit, like I did. But then this crate, because I have a full inventory, I'm going to just carry it. And the reason being that any fruit I get from this container, this crate, I can't carry, which is a pretty big issue. You want to be able to carry everything you get from this crate. So I'm going to bring it with me instead, because once I feed the honey gordo, I will actually have room for whatever fruit I get from this, if that makes sense. So it's all about inventory management, really, and trying to get an edge by getting more fruit from your crate. Bang for your buck. And this is what I mean when I say that there's a lot more RNG with this run and this route. It can be a little bit daunting, a little bit rough to try and make things work, especially once we get to the later parts of the run. But yeah, trade that Oka for a rock port. We're gonna go the ancient ruins entrance area. So at this point, drop off the plorts. Nothing shocking. You know, practice your plort shooting. I am still horrible at it for those curious. That'll probably miss, yeah. Don't mind me being bad at the game. But keep bringing your crate with you. Crates are absolutely your friends throughout the run. So yeah, general rule of thumb, if you are going to a gordo, and I'll pause to explain this better, if you are going to go to a gordo, and you cannot carry any extra fruit, like I can't right now, bring the crate with you. Bring it to the gordo. If you have space to get fruit, just shoot it whenever you want to. You don't need to carry it anywhere and then get the fruit. That's how you want to handle crates through the run. Alright, so we have found the moss blanket, new Slimepedia entry. And now we are going to rush on over to the honey gordo, like I've mentioned a few times now. We will be bursting him, leaving some Q berries in our inventory to go and give the Phosphor gordo. To get to the honey gordo, you're going to want to come over here, mount this rock, and then fly over there. Okay. So put the crate down until you are done feeding this dude. Pogo fruit first. Do not feed him your Q-berries. Q-berries are better used for the Phosphor gordo, because it is the favorite of the Phosphor slime. So you'll be left with 10 Q-berries afterwards, so long as you had 30 of each. Like I said, you'd be down a pogo fruit if you didn't get one from a crate like I did. And you really want to get fruit from these crates. Absolutely want to get fruit from these crates. And I tend to vac them up immediately, because you don't want to feed Q-berries if you can instead feed a pogo fruit. I'm not so lucky this time. In fact, I'm considerably unlucky. So I'm going to feed this guy a Q-berry, get his plort, and move along. There's a gold slime. Ignore it. There's no gold slime. Try and get a bloom plort around here. I guess they all just ate the bloom plorts, so I'm not going to be getting any for myself anytime soon. And this guy is just not going to leave. Never mind. He's gone. Yeah, and definitely don't feed your fruit to like a pink boom slime. That would be just an enormous waste. Alright. I'm going to take this tabby plort. I have an inventory space for a third plort right now because I didn't get any pogo fruit or anything. So if I do come across like a boom plort over here, I will just bring it with me. On other runs, you might not have this situation. In fact, you hopefully won't. It's not a good situation to be in. It's better to have fruit and get your plorts later. But anyway, I'm going to put these two plorts in, tabby and honey. Let's see if I can make this. Alright, cool. Now we're going to leave the moss blanket and go visit the Phosphor gordo. And we're going to give him our 10 Q-berries, obviously. Really hoping I can bank some crates here, because I am definitely behind when it comes to having fruit. Ooh, no one saw that. You definitely want to have a little bit more fruit luck than I've been getting on this run. And don't, like, get screwed over by these tabby slimes either. But yeah, I really am hoping for some crate spawns here, because this is getting into some dangerous territory with how much fruit I have. The reason you want to get extra fruit now is because if I get fruit now, it'll count effectively as fruit later, because the more I feed the Phosphor gordo now, the less I'll feed it later, which means I'll be able to carry more to the Quantum gordo later in the run. Okay, well that's one pogo fruit. Which is just fine. Any fruit is a blessing. Okay. So the Phosphor gordo is going to be right over here. Eat all of your fruit, and then we are going to emergency return to get to the ranch real quick. So, at this point, don't go sleeping again. That would be a horrible idea, because then you'd kill your pogo fruit that you stored for later. And this is why, because we can get all these Q-berries. Gardens no longer, like, despawn their resource after a certain amount of days. That's been changed with this update, which is extra nice, because if it wasn't, it would have been a little bit more of a struggle. So get the rest of your Q-berries, and then use that delightfully stored pogo fruit to grow some. And I don't think I can afford any upgrades, right? Yeah, everything seems to be 350, so... Except air drive, which is 500. If you do have extra money after right there, you will never need money for the rest of the run, so go ahead and get whatever you can. If it's the power core upgrade, or... I think dash boots are better for the run than the power core itself. So... There's a little edge case tip. If you can afford it, go for it. Here's another edge case tip. If you have a bunch of fruit on the thing that you want to collect quickly, just remove the crop at this point because you're not going to need it anymore. So now we're going to return to our Phosphor friend, and it's important to remember what you fed them. If you remember correctly, I fed them 10 Q-berries, I believe, and 1 pogo fruit, which means that I want to feed a pogo fruit and then Q-berries, because you don't want to be feeding Q-berries and, like, overfeed by 1 as a result, because Q-berries count as 2 feedings, right? I've effectively fed the Phosphor 21 fruit by feeding it 10 Q-berries and a pogo fruit, but you want to keep it at an even number because they burst at 50. If that makes sense. If you fed it just Q-berries, you burst it at 51, and that's, you know, wasting fruit. So feed him all that. He's gonna burst, gonna give you 2 crates. You just want to open these. And I like to back up the fruit that I can. It eating a pogo fruit just now is absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. And I don't have inventory space for pogo fruit anymore because of how this sort of works, which is another struggle. At this point, you definitely want, like, Q-berries and non-pogo fruit fruits. Because you don't have inventory space for the pogo fruit anymore. It's worth mentioning that earlier when I couldn't get a boom plort was actually kind of a significant, like, downside to the run so far. Q-berries can sometimes drop from there. Because now I'm going to have to go and get a boom plort, which might be a little bit of a struggle. Got myself a Q-berry. So we want to have 50 total fruit by the time we reach the Quantum Gordo, which, you know, now you're starting to see probably the full extent of the RNG of the run. It's rough. Right around here is when you're going to struggle the most. And don't do the moss blanket skip. We want to open 5 slime doors, so if you don't open that door, you won't be able to get your ending unless you find a different slime door. So just remember to open your slime doors. Don't try and do skips to save time because you won't finish the run. Q-berries can also sometimes drop from there. If they had, I'd be at like 49 to 50 total fruit. Unfortunately, no such luck this time. But yeah, here's a boom slime, thank goodness. No nonsense backtracking for me just yet. Okay. So now we're going to place the plorts into their statues and enter the ancient ruins. So I'm gonna have to struggle a little bit with my situation, obviously. There is a possibility that the grow cycle of the phase lemons is in my favor right now, and there might be phase lemons everywhere. If that happens, you know, take advantage of it. It's a huge benefit to find on a run. So we'll take a look around and not get distracted by hen spawns. I always think that they're crates for some reason. It's a little bit silly, but it's fine. Okay. And obviously, once again, like I mentioned in the previous tutorial I did, I'm walking around to gather my thoughts and be able to explain things better. Don't just walk, it's obviously not faster. Anyway, to get to the Quantum Gordo, you're going to want to drop down here, hover a little bit, keep going. There is a crate there. Get on my vac gun. No fruit, no fruit. Alright, so at this point, this is where tragedy strikes. Usually right here you know if your run is effectively over or not. As you can see, my phase lemons are out of sync right now. They are not grown, which means I'm going to have to kind of struggle here just to make this work. And this is where you would reset, really. You can struggle like I'm going to attempt to do here. And it's probably going to lose you somewhere around like 2 minutes usually. That's what I tend to gain or lose depending upon if the RNG works out in my favor. So it's a bit rough. But admittedly, on this run, my RNG was pretty poor. If my RNG was a little bit better, this run would have been fine. I was not that far from success. I'm only 2 fruit away from success, and if the phase lemons had grown, that would have also just allowed me to succeed. So I like to look down here for crates. You can pretty frequently find crates in the water. It looks like I didn't find any this time, which is a little bit rough. But there are crates around the ancient ruins, so if you only need like 1 fruit, your run isn't really over, but you definitely need to do a bit of running around to succeed. Which is what I'm doing now. Which, I mean, if you're willing to take the hit of a time loss for the sake of completing the run, I mean, you can... The phase lemon has grown. You can try and memorize the crate spawns. Oops, I thought I wasn't going to pick it up there for a second. Okay, so with this phase lemon, I am 1 fruit off. I just need to get a crate. And I guess... in this scenario, I probably should have held on to some fruit for the sake of making phase lemons, because I knew I didn't have enough. So for future reference, that is a strat worth employing. Just saving some fruit in the case that phase lemons start growing, which, as you can see, they're totally doing. So I'm going to run back around a little bit more, see if I can find some crates. If I can't, you know, the run is over and you'll never see this, but if I can, we'll turn whatever I get from the crate into a phase lemon. Well, actually, no, because that would be overfeeding, like I mentioned earlier, and you don't want to do that. But yeah, I'm 1 fruit away, and it's a sad experience all around. One thing that's also worth noticing is that phase lemons can grow while these don't, so the phase lemons growing is not a sign of success by any means, because you can go get some other fruit from other trees. They're on different cycles. But yeah. As you can see, they grow pretty effectively when they do, so if you do get a good phase lemon cycle on your run, I mean, you should be set, really. That is the biggest blessing you can get at this point in the run. And there's a crate. Let's hope this has a fruit. Let's really hope this has a fruit. It does. Alright, let's freaking get this over with, shall we? Not the best run. Not the best run, but that's fine. I mean, I'd love to show you a seamless, super well executed Slime Rancher any % glitchless run for the tutorial, but really, I think it's better to show this. Because you can experience the hardships of the run firsthand, because this will happen to you. You're not going to have great RNG every run, and if you want to complete runs, sometimes you have to do ridiculous stuff like what I just did. It's a bit of a mess. But there you go. Quantum Gordo Burst, you do get 2 crates, and if the game is merciful, it might be enough to freaking feed all these guys, because I still need to get 5 Quantum Plorts. And I can make it work out of what I just got. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to feed the heartbeat to the pink slime. Feed the phase lemon to the quantum slime, obviously. I'm going to give this guy a pink plort. Or the Q-berry. Ah! That's bad. Oh, pretend that never happened. I meant to give him the pink plort and then feed him a hen-hen, because that would get me the quantum plort here. As you can see, now I'm 1 short, but it worked out because he gives me a pink plort and I can feed him a hen-hen. Oh, yeah. Don't be a fool like me. Do not be a fool like me. Alright, it works. It worked out in the end. I did some dumb, and in fact, honestly, that was better. I was going to go and get a phase lemon with the Q-berry, but I might as well just cycle the pink plorts and feed him the hen-hens. So there we go. 5 quantum plorts, a little bit awkwardly obtained. So at this point, we're going to go to the glass desert. As you can see, we have 2 more slime keys to use on 2 more slime doors. One of them is down here, and one of them is in the glass desert. And after that, we'll just reach the end of the glass desert, go home, and sleep a bunch. So, not the best run in the world, but I think it exemplifies everything that you need to know to complete a run far better than this one. Right now, from my experience, a decent run with this route without any RNG nonsense, is about 22 minutes. And the current world record, as of the time of me recording this, is like 21:57, if I'm not mistaken. But that should be beat relatively soon, so it doesn't really matter that I say that. It'll probably be gone by the time you're watching this. Who knows? Anyway, we have no longer need to do the slime jumps from the previous route that were kind of difficult. Now we're just going to walk through because we have a slime key. We're not going to go this way. I like to go this way. I believe it is faster. So at this point, we've opened 5 slime doors, which is, you know, the criteria that we needed to meet to get Casey's emails and everything, and that's why we have to go and get the gordos and all that nonsense. So, you know, if you have like a slime key at the end of the run or you can't open that door, I mean, something went wrong and you will have to compensate. If you can't open the door, you might have missed one of the slime keys. It happens. Sometimes you'll get the crates, you'll get the rad plort, and then you'll forget that the slime key was there. But it's not the end of the world. Well, that is the end of the world, but like, it's not a super like frequent or terrible mistake to make. If on the other hand you have an extra slime key at the end, you probably forgot to open up the moss blanket door or something and just want to go around and find a slime door. There's one around the bend of the like tabby hen area of the dry reef. So if you want to go and get that one, I mean, you want to do that before you come here. I mean, it's really just don't mess that up, but... So read this message from Hobson, emergency return, and then just sleep a bunch. Whew, this one was a bit rougher than the last tutorial, although last tutorial I had to do a bunch of attempts for behind the scenes. I had a lot of runs just end to getting a little bit screwed over. But anyway, sleep a bunch. The run will end after you get the email, another tour, which comes after Life is Different Now, if I remember correctly, so just take brief glances at the Star Mail titles. Life is Different Now is pretty long, so it should be pretty noticeable. And then after that one, just... once you see another tour, just leave the house, and then the run will be over. But yeah, once again, there will be some links in the description to Lynx's Twitch stream, my Twitch stream. He does Slime Rancher runs? He does Slime Rancher runs more than I do. So I'd probably go check him out for running purposes over me. And see what he does when things go wrong, because this is just one example of what you can do when things go wrong, because things go wrong a lot. Things go wrong. It's RNG. You can't always have it in your favor, but it's not impossible either. I think that on this run, it was closer than it appeared. If I had gotten 1 or 2 more fruit from crates, I think it would have been a lot more manageable. But yeah, there's a speedrunning Discord. I'll post the speedrun.com link. I'll post the link to the game if you don't have it, because it's a great game. Even outside of speedrunning, it's a really fun game, in my opinion at least. It's nice and casual and cute and stuff. So, those will all be there. Feel free to check them out. And hopefully, you know, you're interested in the run even despite the RNG. Because there is RNG. I'm not gonna sugarcoat the run for the sake of making it look nicer for people. Oh, that would be a bit insincere, but yeah, that's the run. If there's any confusion, feel free to ask in the comments or go to the Discord and ask there. Probably do the Discord thing. It's way easier to have a conversation about it rather than just trying to understand out of a singular comment. It's completely public, anyone can join. But yeah, that's it. That's the new route. Wasn't super pretty, but it hit all the key points of everything that you need to do, and hopefully it's understandable. There you go. Enjoy the credits music.
So please don't say that you'll go. My heart can't bear the news, just knowing that you'll be 1,000 light years away. If you do, oh if you do. Well, I'm just sitting here gazing up at the stars. Let's say we pick one out and call the whole thing ours. And even though that light we see ain't the same for you and me, well, you'll know and I'll know that you and I can't even be 1,000 light years away, and I'd still love you. Oh yes, I do.